Hi friends, welcome to Sociodemic. Friends, the channel Sociodemic is exclusively dedicated to UGC NET Paper 1 preparation. Friends, today we are going to discuss some of the important questions in last chapter, higher education. Friends, we are going to discuss the questions on the committees and commissions. Friends, these committees and commissions are broadly divided into pre-independent committees and post-independence committees. So, as you all aware, pre-independence, that is a colonial era, British administration. So, post-independence, government of India. So, colonial administrator also try to reform our Indian education system. So, in the due course of action, they have constituted various committees. So, we are going to discuss about that committees. Okay, friends. Question number 1. Consider the following statement regarding Wood's dispatch in 1854. Friends, the topic of Wood's dispatch is very, very important in the context of pre-independence committees. Statement number 1. It recommended establishment of universities in Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras in the model of London University. This is one of the important recommendations of Wood's dispatch. It advocated for system of grants in aid to encourage private enterprise in education. Friends, government alone can't do provide resources and funds to the education. So Wood's dispatch anticipate and recommend the private partnership in the field of education. So, in that context, they have recommended grants in aid to encourage private enterprise in the education. This is also right statement. It emphasized promotion of vernacular languages alongside English. Friends, prior to the Wood's dispatch, we have to understand one committee, that is Macaulay Minutes. In 1835. So, what is a Macaulay Minutes is broadly this Charles Babington Macaulay, one administrator, has recommended the medium of instruction should be in English in the Indian education system. So, prior to Macaulay Minutes, the medium of instruction in primary education and secondary education is Sanskrit, Urdu, and Arabic. So these are the languages that has been using in the Indian education system prior to the Macaulay Minutes. So Macaulay recommended the medium of instruction should be in English. So in order to consolidate their power, in order to strengthen their power, so they are reforming the Indian education system through English. So objective of recommendation of English is to consolidate their power and make the clerical order in Indians to support the British administration. So that is the main objective, to recommend the English as a medium of instruction. So it emphasizes the promotion of vernacular languages. What are the vernacular languages? Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, these are the vernacular languages that has been present in the Indian scenario. So Woods Dispatch also recommended these vernacular languages along with English. This statement also correct. So answer is D 1, 2, 3. Statements above are correct. Woods Dispatch 1854 is often referred as Magna Carta of English education in India. Friends, what is meant by Magna Carta? So we have to search for the historical background in order to find out the meaning of Magna Carta. See, Magna Carta is nothing but in 11th or 12th century UK, there is one administration system. All over the world, there is one administration system, that is monarchy. There is no democracy on that period. So monarchy, so king is there. King has total unlimited absolute power in the hands of the king. He can do anything. If he want to do anything, immediately it will happen. So he has an absolute power to control the people. So on that time, some people gathered and asked the king, see, we are all humans, we have a human rights. See, being a human, you have a human right or fundamental rights. Fundamental rights is nothing but right to life, right to freedom of expression, right to movement. So these are all called fundamental rights. We have already included in that fundamental rights in the Constitution of India after the independence. So first time these human rights and fundamental rights has been recognized in human history in the 11th and 12th century UK. So King Charles IV has given a consent. Yes, I am going to recognize these human rights to my subjects. Subjects means their people. So they have a fundamental rights. So that is the Magna Carta. That is the starting point. Friends, Magna Carta is nothing but is a starting point to the recognition of these human rights and fundamental rights. So this word Magna Carta, using in this context, the Magna Carta of English education. So this is the starting point. What is the starting point? Wood's Dispatch is considered as the starting point in the English education system in India. So the historical background is they are try to recognize the human rights. That is the starting point for the recognition of human rights and fundamental rights. That is called Magna Carta. King signed in this paper. So maybe there is a paper or something, I don't know. Actually, King signed in this document. That is called, the document is called Magna Carta. So Wood's Dispatch is also called a Magna Carta of English education in India. So statement 1, recommended establishment of universities in Calcutta, Bombay, Madras on the models of University of London. Yes, that is right. It introduced grants in aid system which aimed to encourage private Indian efforts in education by providing financial assistance to school that met certain standards. So grants in aid. I already told you that government alone can't provide these funds and resources to education. Private institutions also take initiative in order to provide funds to the education in India. So Woods Dispatch recommended this recommendation also. While promoting English in higher education, the dispatch also stressed the importance of vernacular languages in primary level and English at secondary and higher education levels, advocating the graded education system. So earlier, Lord Macaulay has recommended medium of instruction as English, but Wood's Dispatch recommended vernacular languages, that is Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, all these called vernacular languages along with English. So that is in the context of India, it is a good recommendation. Friends, in the context of pre-independence committees, Wood's dispatch is very, very important topic. We may expect one question from the Wood's dispatch. Next question. Assertion and reasoning. The Hunter Commission recommended the withdrawal of state from the direct management of higher education. So withdrawal of state from the higher education. That is the recommendation, one of the recommendation of Hunter Commission in 1882. So 1882. Wood's dispatch is 1854. The commission aimed to encourage private Indian initiative in higher education and primary education. Friends, first of all, the Hunter Commission constituted in 1882 and Wood's dispatch constituted in 1854. So the Hunter Commission objective is mainly to study the status of recommendations of Wood's dispatch. So the main objective of Hunter Commission is to study the status of recommendations of Wood's dispatch. Friends, while solving the assertion reason question, we have to establish the link between the statement of assertion and reason. Here, the keyword is withdrawal of the state from the direct management. Here, so after withdrawal, there is a vacuum, there is a gap. The gap has been filled by the private Indian initiative. So there is a link between this assertion and reasoning statement. So if we have to conclude, we have to establish this relationship, immediately our answer is A. Both A and R are true, and R is a correct explanation of A. If we could not establish the relation between assertion and reason, the answer may be B, C, D. If we have to establish the relationship, the answer must be A. Simple. Withdrawal of the state, the vacuum has been filled by the private Indian institutions. So answer is A. The Hunter Commission, also known as Indian Education Commission, was appointed to review progress of education since Wood's dispatch. So assertion, the commission indeed recommended that state should gradually withdraw from direct management of secondary and higher education, leaving higher education to private enterprise. Reason, the primary objective behind the recommendation, encourage private Indian initiative and local self-government bodies to take greater role in the promotion of particularly primary education. So the responsibility of primary education is given to local self bodies, local self governments. So what are the local self governments? Municipalities and panchayats. So the responsibility of primary education has been given to these local self governments. First time. So friends, we have to remember two things here. The Hunter Commission established for objective of study of status of recommendation of Wood's dispatch, and Hunter Commission also recommended the responsibility of primary education. Only primary education, friends. Primary education is the responsibility of local self-governments. That is the main recommendation of the Hunter Commission. Next, third question. Which of the following best describe the long-term impact of Raleigh Commission 1902 on higher education in British India? So, British India, which of the following describe long-term impact? So, option A, it significantly democratized university education by expanding access to wider population. Friends, here the word democratized. Friends, what we expect from the colonial rulers, they in the administration, there is no democracy, they are trying to democratize the education system. No, this itself is a wrong statement. They never democratize the education, not only education, administration. Next, it promoted indigenous methods of education and reduced the reliance on Western methods. See, colonial rulers, British rulers always trying to implement Western models, not the indigenous model. Why? Because they have to consolidate their power using the Western methods, Western models, and Western philosophies. So, why they follow the indigenous methods that has been invented by India, that is useful for Indians? So, they never ever implemented the indigenous method, they always used the Western methods. So this statement also wrong. It led to establishment of numerous new private universities across the country. Numerous new universities, no, they never ever established a numerous new university. This statement also wrong. So answer is B. It is strengthened the government control over universities and focusing on improving academic standards. They control. See, one fellow has a power, unlimited power, absolute power. What they do? They will try to control everything. So British government, colonial government also trying to control over universities. That is the right answer. The Raleigh Commission was appointed by Lord Curzon to inquire into conditions and prospects of universities in India and recommended measures for improving their constitution and working. So how to establish a university and how they work, say they are trying to control. So the commission also recommended, which led to Indian Universities Act 1904, primarily aimed to improving academic standards by tightening government control over universities. This involved measures like increasing number of nominated fellows and blah blah blah. These are the controlling methods they have implemented. It did not democratize university education. So option B is the right answer. Question number 4. The Hartog Committee report 1929 primarily focused on which aspect of education in India? Hartog Committee focused on which aspect of education in India? The promotion of technical and vocational education? No. The reforms needed in secondary education? No. The expansion of women's education? No. The problems of mass literacy and in primary education. Friends, the Hartog Committee, in the context of Hartog Committee, we have to remember one thing, that is Simon Commission. So Simon Commission in 1929, British colonial rulers has established a Simon Commission. We may remember Congress has done extensive dharnas and extensive hesitations against the Simon Commission. Simon go back. Why? Because there is no Indian representation in that particular Simon Commission. All members are Europeans. So because of that, Congress has done a tremendous hesitation against the Simon Commission because there is no representation of India from on the Simon Commission. So Simon go back. So Simon Commission established this Hartog Committee as a subcommittee. So Simon Commission established a subcommittee to study the education system in India, headed by the Hartog. The committee is called Hartog Committee. So Hartog Committee studied the problems of mass literacy and primary education in India. The Hartog Committee was appointed by Simon Commission to review the growth of education in British rule. Its report primarily highlights the issue of mass literacy and primary education. It observed that while there had been a quantitative expansion of primary education, there was a significant problem called wastage and stagnation in many students dropping out before the completion of primary school. So, what is meant by wastage and stagnation? Friend, these are the key words in the Hartog committee report. What is meant by wastage? Friends, one student has admitted in government school in third grade, so he has been dropped out in sixth grade, so he could not complete the secondary education, so he dropped out from the school. That is called wastage. Why wastage? Government has spending enormous amount on education that has been utilized by every student. So student has joined third grade and dropped out in sixth grade. The amount of funds and resources spent by the government gone waste. Why? Because he has not completed the secondary education. That is 10th class or SSC. He has not completed his secondary education. He has been dropped out. Even though government has spent on him means on the field of education. So government resources and funds gone waste, that is called wastage. And stagnation, what is meant by stagnation? One student has joined one student has wrote a 7th grade exam, board exam, and he has failed on that 7th grade board exam, and he has again joined in the 7th grade. So that is called stagnation. So 2 years he has to study 7th grade, 2 years. So government funds and resources has been wasted. So that is called stagnation. So Hartog committee has been find out the two problems in the education system, that is wastage and stagnation. Indian education system has been plagued out by the two problems, wastage and stagnation, has been founded by this Hartog committee. So these are the two important points in that particular Hartog committee. One is Simon Commission has constituted a Hartog committee, and Hartog committee has identified two aspects in the Indian education system, that is wastage and stagnation. Next, question number 5. Which of the following commissions recommended the system of basic education focusing on learning through activity and craft? Friends, in pre-independence committees, there are three important points. One is Macaulay minutes, and second is Wood's dispatch, and third is Nai Talim, that is basic education. The concept of basic education, Nai Talim, has been concepted by Mahatma Gandhi. So this is also called Varda scheme of education, also known as basic education, Nai Talim. It emphasized the learning through activity and productive craft, proposing that education should be imparted through the medium of useful, productive, and culturally relevant craft. The earnings from the craft were intended to make the school self supporting to some extent. So, this is also called self sustaining model of education. What is meant by self sustaining model of education? So students are trained in basic crafts, so they made some articles, the article has been sold on the market, they got amount, so they got funds, so that amount of funds has been used to promotion of education, used for the school. So there is no need of external support or external funds to continue the school. So school itself getting the funds from their own products. So that is called self-sustaining model of education. This concept has been conceived by Mahatma Gandhi. This is also called Varda scheme of education, 1937, known as basic education or Nai Talim. Nai Talim is a main keyword we have to remember. So Macaulay Minute advocated for English education in India to produce the class of Indian who could serve as a interpreters between British and masses. So basically clerks. Sargent plan was comprehensive plan, post-war educational development, covering all levels of education, but did not originate the concept of basic education. And Sadler Commission 1917 focused on university education in India. So answer is C, the scheme of education 1937. The concept has been conceived by the Mahatma Gandhi. So that's all from the video, friends. Thanks for watching. We meet on next video. Thank you once again.